Hello, children. How are you all? I hope you all are doing well at your homes. I welcome you all to today's English class. Children, in our previous session, we had started reading the chapter The King and the Fiery Dragon. Today, we are going to continue the story. I'm sure you must be eager to know about the king and his conflict with the fiery dragon. So let's have a quick recap of the story and then we will read further. So, our story started with the entry of a little boy, Ramesh, who was very excited to meet his grandmother. Ramesh had come to his grandmother's village, Makanband, with his uncle named Madan. So, as the grandson saw his loving grandmom at the railway station, he gave her a tight hug. And the happiness of the grandmom knew no bounds. She was extremely happy to see her grandson. She held his hand and they headed towards the village. And on the way, Ramesh, he told everything about his school, his class, his teachers and his new friend Amit to his grandmother. And now the grandmother, she also shared the details of her pets and her kitchen garden with the little boy. And after reaching home, as the boy was waiting to eat the delicious food cooked by his grandmother, she served him a hearty meal. Then, in the evening, she took him to the village fair. In the village fair, there were all sorts of stalls, toys, vegetables, etc. The people of the village, they greeted his grandmother respectfully. Yes, we had read till here, the villagers greeted grandmother respectfully. Now let us read further. Suddenly, with the beating of drums, all the villagers gathered around a huge rock that resembled a dragon and began to dance as they happily sang folk songs. Some even offered flowers to the dragon. Ramesh also cheered and clapped with them. As the sun set, they all headed home. Once back, Ramesh sat close to his grandmother and said, "Why were the people dancing around the huge rock that looked like a dragon?" Grandmother nodded. "Well, there is a story about the dragon. Most of the people believe that it watches over us. Grandma, tell me about the dragon, won't you?" So, this is the next paragraph. So what happened suddenly as they were moving in the fair? Suddenly what happened? Suddenly means all of a sudden. Suddenly with the beating of drums, all the villagers gathered around a huge rock that resembled a dragon and began to dance as they happily sang folk songs. All of a sudden the beating of drums started and all the villagers who had come over there to the fair, they all gathered around. Gathered means to come together or to assemble somewhere. So they all gathered around a huge rock. There was a huge rock that resembled means that looked like a dragon, and they began to dance as they happily sang folk songs. So there was a huge rock. They all gathered around that huge rock and they all began to dance and happily sing folk songs. Some even offered flowers to the dragon, and some of them they even offered means presented. They even presented flowers to the dragon. Ramesh also cheered and clapped with them. Ramesh, because he was also enjoying, so he also cheered. Cheered means like you shout when you are in joy or in praise of something. That is called cheering. So he also cheered and clapped with them. As the sun set, they all headed home. As the evening started, as the sun set, they all headed towards their home. Once back, Ramesh sat close to his grandmother. Once they were back at home, Ramesh, he sat close to his grandmother and said, "Why were the people dancing around the huge rock that looked like a dragon?" So now Ramesh was finding it very strange. Why were the people, they were dancing around a huge rock, and the rock was of a very different shape. It looked like a dragon. So he was very surprised. And who could answer his queries? Yes, grandmother was the right person who could answer all his queries, all his questions. So he asked his grandmother that why were the people dancing around the huge rock that was looking like a dragon? Grandmother nodded. Nodded means to move your head up and down. So she nodded and said, "Well, there is a story about the dragon." So she said, "It was not just like that. There is a story behind this." As most of the people believe that it watches over us. Watches over means when you keep an eye on something, when you guard something or protect something. So he said that most of the people believe, they feel that it watches over us, that it guards us, it protects us. "Grandma, tell me about the dragon, won't you?" Now this had aroused the curiosity in the mind of that little boy, Ramesh. He said, "Grandma, I really want to know more about it, more about the dragon. Won't you tell me?" Now children, in this paragraph you have to underline the word resembled. Okay, let's move further. "Oh yes, I had composed a poem when I was young. The village folk still recite it and sing it on such occasions as today." Ramesh looked at his grandmother, who sat in the candlelight and read out from an old diary. Okay, that sounds very interesting. Yes, when he asked his grandmother that, "Grandma, won't you tell me more about this? Won't you tell me the story behind this dragon and the huge rock?" She said, "Oh yes, definitely I'll tell you." Then she told, "I had composed a poem when I was young." Remember children, yesterday we had learned that the grandmother, she had been a good singer and composer in her younger days. So she said that I had composed. Composed means written or created. She had written a poem when she was young. The village folk still recite it and sing it on such occasions as today. Village folk. Folk means people. So she said that the people of the village, they still, although it's a very old poem, she had written when she was young, and now she's a grandmother. So many years had passed since then. But she said that even now the people of the village, they recite it and sing it on such occasions. Occasions means some particular event. So on events as today, as it was a special event today, so whenever there is a special event, the people of the village, they recite this poem. Ramesh looked at his grandmother, who sat in the candlelight and read out from an old diary. Now, Ramesh, he looked at his grandmother, and she was sitting in the candlelight, and she started reading from an old diary. Now, children, the curtain would raise from the real story, that is the story of the king and the fiery dragon. What was the reason that there was a conflict between them? That we will come to know in the coming time. Okay. Let's start the poem. The king set out with his soldiers towards the Dragon Mountain for treasures. The queen had said, "Get it all, I want riches more. Attack the dragon and fort, and break its walls and door." The fiery dragon guarded the treasure with all his might. "Back off! You won't get this. It's not right." The king yelled, "You will pay with your life. The jewels and gems will adorn only my wife." The soldiers aimed arrows, spears, and cannon. So, this was the story. What happened? The king set out with his soldiers. Set out means, children, to start a journey. So he started a journey with his soldiers. Set out means to start a journey. Right? So he started a journey with his soldiers. And where was he heading? Where was he going? He was going towards the Dragon Mountain for treasures. He was going towards the Dragon Mountain for treasure. Treasure means, children, a lot of stored wealth in the form of jewels and other valuables. So all the valuable things that was in the Dragon Mountain. So he started the journey with his soldiers and he was going towards the Dragon Mountain to get the treasures. Underline the word treasures. The queen had said, "Get it all, I want riches more. Attack the dragon and fort and break its walls and door." So why was he going there? Because he had got orders from the queen. The queen had told him, "Get it all, I want riches more." Riches means wealth. She had said that you have to get all of it. Although we all know that kings, they are always rich. So, but she had said that I want more riches. I want more of the wealth. She said, "Attack the dragon and fort." She had said that you have to attack the dragon and the fort in which he was living. Fort means the castle in which he was living. Who was living? The dragon. And break its walls and door. So, whatever you have to do, you have to do. Whether you have to break the walls, break the door. But what do I want? She wanted more riches, more wealth. The fiery dragon guarded the treasure with all his might. Back off, you won't get it. It's not right. The fiery dragon. Fiery dragon means the dragon that takes out fire or flame from its mouth. He guarded. Guarded means secured. He took care of the treasure with all his might. Might means, underline the word might. Might means power. With all his strength, with all his power, he took care of the treasure. He said, back off. You won't get this. It's not right. He said, back off. Back off means move backwards. That take your army, take your soldiers back. You won't get it. You won't get it means you are not going to get it. And to whom he is saying? Yes, the dragon is saying it to the king, that you are not going to get it because this is not right, because it is not the right thing to do. The king yelled. Underline the word yelled. Yelled means, children, shouted. He shouted. What did he shout? He said, you will pay with your life. The jewels and gems will adorn only my wife. He said, you will pay with your life. Pay with life means that you will be punished by being put to death. That you will lose your life. Pay with your life means you will be punished to death, because the jewels and gems, jewels means all the precious stones and ornaments and jewelry, will adorn. Adorn means they will beautify. Adorn means to make something more beautiful or attractive. So he said that these gems and jewels are meant only for my wife. They are going to only adorn. They are only going to add to the beauty of my wife. Underline adorn. So, such a king he was. The soldiers aimed arrows, spear, and cannon. All these were of no use, as nothing harmed the dragon. He opened his mouth and let out a big flame, lashed his tail that put the king's army to shame. Okay, the soldiers, yes, we can see soldiers of the king over here. They aimed arrows. Yes, we can see many arrows that have been aimed. Aim means, yes, to point or to direct towards something. So they aimed arrows, spears. Spear means a spear is kind of a weapon with a pointed tip. Spear and cannon. This is a cannon, children. I hope you can see over here. Yes. A cannon is again a kind of a weapon that is used during the battle. Right? These are all cannons. Right? And this is a bow and arrow. So the soldiers, they aimed arrows, spear and cannon. All these were of no use, as nothing harmed the dragon. They were all of no use. Why they were not of any use? Because none of them could harm. Harm means, yes, hurt, as none of them could hurt the dragon. He opened his mouth and let out a big flame. As he opened his mouth, let out means it allowed it to come out. A big flame came out of the dragon's mouth. Lashed his tail that put the king's army to shame. Lashed his tail. We can see the tail of the dragon as he lashed his tail. Lashed means to move violently or suddenly. As he lashed his tail, it put the king's army to shame. To put to shame, what does that mean? Children, to put to shame means to make someone or something feel bad or less impressive in comparison. Like the soldiers, there were so many of the soldiers. The king had a big army, but this dragon, he was all alone and he was very easily facing them. He was not afraid of them. So, what happened next? Did the dragon win? Or all these many soldiers in the big army of the king, they could win over this dragon as he was all alone? That we'll come to know in tomorrow's session. Right, children? For now, let's have a look at a few questions from the back exercises. Yes, it is very important to be able to understand the questions also and answer them. Then only we'll come to know whether we have understood or not. So, the first question is, at which station did Ramesh get down and whom did he meet there? Yes, at which station did he get down? Remember? It is given on page number 50. Ramesh got down at Makanbad railway station. And whom did he meet there? Yes, he met his grandmother over there. Right? So we are done with question number 1. Next is, where was the village fair held? Yes, do you remember? Where was the village fair held? Again, it is given in your book. It was an annual event held in a vast ground near a rocky hillock. So, where was the village fair held? It was held in a vast ground near a rocky hillock. Right? So, that is the answer to the second question. Next one. I'm sure these are all easy for you. Who led the soldiers to the Dragon Mountain? Yes, very simple. We have just read it. Who led the soldiers to the Dragon Mountain? Very good. The king led the soldiers to the Dragon Mountain. Right? Very good. For today, we will do these 3 questions. And children, one very important thing that you have to keep in mind, that the tense that you write while writing the answers, the tense that you use. Like in the first question, if you might have noticed, at which station did Ramesh get down? We have recently done simple past tense. So did with did, which form of the verb is used? Get. That is the first form of the verb. Always and always, first form of the verb is used with did. So, in the answer, we will write it again in the past tense only. Ramesh got down at Makanbad railway station. And whom did he meet there? Again, past form, did and meet. He met. Meet, met, met. Met is the second form. That is the past form of meet. He met his grandmother over there. Right, children? So, be careful about the tense, the comprehension of what you read, and of course, your reading skills. That is the pronunciation while you read and the fluency of reading. All these things you have to keep in mind. Right? So, we call it a day. Rest of the chapter we are going to read in our next session. Till then, take very good care of yourselves. Stay happy and blessed. Bye-bye.